Staff is another one. If you've never owned the business, W-2 versus 1099 contractors, there's some differences there. We'll leave it at that. But W-2, a lot more control, but you're paying people are on payroll. So if you're generating revenue or not, you're still having to pay your staff. A 1099 contractor, we'll call it in the roofing space, they are agreeing to a percentage. They are agreeing essentially to get paid after the job has been completed and paid for. So that definitely helps with cash flow. You're going to have less control in those businesses. You're going to constantly monitor, making sure that they're representing the brand, using the approved product. In many cases, potentially, actually getting the product for them to pick up. And you're going to have to check with your state. Each state has different rules and laws when it comes to 1099 contractors. As far as what works, best near me, that's a conversation to be had with the franchisor and looking at different state regulations, licensing, contractors licensing, insurance, and things like that. So those are all things to absolutely consider in that market. What else? Investment, we want to get clear there, and we put you in touch with a funding company. They're going to do a full review. So this is a holistic approach, guys. We're doing a lot of this. It's like buying a home and getting pre-qualified. We want to get you pre-qualified for an SBA loan. It's free. It's a soft credit check. That way you have an idea of your lending power, what type of loan you can get. And then look at all the other options. Maybe that there's not enough there, or you prefer not to have a loan to pay back. So you look at a ROBS, a Rollover Business Startup, where you're utilizing retirement assets to fund the purchase of your business. Sometimes I've seen people use a combination of an SBA loan or a retirement rollover, that ROBS plan. Home equity lines of credit have been extremely popular with the boom in real estate and prices of homes going up, building a lot of equity for homeowners. That is another popular option. And then I would say a fourth, not as commonly used, and I'm surprised by this, is a security-backed loan, a loan on your investments, non-retirement investments. Because going back to that retirement loan, you have to qualify for that. It's a traditional IRA, not a Roth IRA, or a 401k with a previous employer. With this security-backed loan, you can use your existing non-retirement investment portfolio. You don't have to sell any securities. There's no commissions, no cap gains or losses. You're simply taking a loan on a percentage of your investment portfolio. So a loan on your own money, keeping the money in the market. Hopefully that's growing. The interest rate's lower. Hopefully you're still making a positive spread. But that's something that we obviously can't predict. We don't know what the markets will do. So so these are other options to really consider. And these options really kind of start narrowing this, I call it the funnel, figuring out, what is of these 4,000 franchises, what could be run part-time, what is available under a 200K investment range that I can be open up relatively quickly and not need any staff. These are all characteristics. These are all requirements that we're looking for. So when we're speaking with the brands, these brands are checking off all these boxes. We're doing local market analysis. What does the competition look like? What other franchises are there? How saturated is the market? Is there a lot of competition, but no one really standing out? Those are things that you're going to do at a local level. I advise also some brands provide white papers. If you're looking at a restoration franchise, there are white papers out there about the restoration industry, how well it's doing, how quickly it's growing, how many jobs you're getting, all that kind of great stuff. So, these are things to all kind of consider and to think about. And those are equally as important in your search. And then we look at the availability. Okay, great. We have this model. We have 15 brands that maybe check off all the boxes that could be potential great fits. They're different industries, helping you compare and contrast. And then we look to see that 10 of them are not available. Maybe the closest available market is hours away or in a different state. That won't work. So now we narrow it down to 5 and figuring out, okay, well, 3 is really the maximum I recommend looking at the same time. And maybe 3 of them are home service. So you pick one home service. You pick another one that is B2B. So maybe it's business coaching, keeping it different so you can help you compare and contrast a lower investment that has higher sales, outbound sales provided by the franchisee. And then we look for something that, giving back to the community, something that is really recession resistant, that kind of falls in between. We look at senior care. We look at companies helping mom and dad stay comfortably at home, offering both medical and non-medical care depending on the franchise, and really helping them, maybe after a surgery, physical therapy, dementia, or maybe it's just helping them with daily tasks around the house. Those are great opportunities to take a look at. And again, look at the market, both of the customers, right, and how they create the territories, and the saturation and competition and things like that. And maybe you offer similar products, but you do it in such a different way that it stands out. You're with a not an emerging, but more of an established franchise that has the economies of scale to really get you a better pricing overall, and really able to cut down on costs and things like that. So these are all great things. But when you're going back to the original question, what are the best franchise opportunities near me? I get it. We do that. What are the best restaurants? What's the closest or best Italian restaurant near me? You want it to really get closer to where you live, and that's very important. But just be careful. Be careful of the searches, SEO. People are paying to get on top of those lists. Even some of the top lists are curated by sponsors. I'm not saying all of them, but even the top franchise lists, again, not all of them, but some of them, what is that? What is the rating? What's the criteria? And the criteria could simply mean growth, number of franchisees, and that's usually what it is. It comes down to growth, and that's all important. But how is that a good match for you? You want growth in the system, but more importantly, you want happy franchisees. You want franchisees that are doing well, that are scaling, that are growing their businesses, that are getting the support from the franchisor, not just in the initial training, but the ongoing support, which is what you're paying for in that royalty. So there's all this really great stuff to consider. I'd love to help you. I'd love to save you from the next search and the overwhelm of all these results that come up. And I encourage you and every one of my listeners to reach out, ggthefranchiseguy.com. You can book a call. It's the top right-hand corner, I believe, and it's going to ask you some questions. Those questions are intentional. We want to figure out, not what the right franchise is on the first call. Let's learn about each other. Want to meet you, want to learn more about you and your family, what your goals are. Let's figure out if a franchise is even the right fit before going down that rabbit hole online. In some cases, it's the perfect fit, but the funding situation needs some improvement, or the credit score needs you need to hire a credit repair company. Let's be proactive. Let's put together a plan. Sometimes everything is looking good. Financials are great. Credit score is great, and dive right in. And that's great. We essentially meet you where you're at. We're very thorough so that we don't miss anything. And if credit is off and financials aren't there, or there's no money to be put down towards the business, let's figure out a plan to do that. How can we go about putting some money aside, finding an investor, maybe finding a partner that you can utilize? But ultimately, there's going to be some skin in the game. If it's a loan, it's going to be a 20 to 30% down payment on the SBA. If it's retirement, well, it's still your money. You're just allocating from the stock market to this. So we're very proactive so that you're not talking with brands, getting really far to find out you don't qualify. Believe it or not, I always tell people it's not just what you're open to investing, but what you can get approved for in a loan, what you have access to, but also the franchisors have financial requirements. They have requirements when it comes to liquidity, net worth. I always say net worth, which is all your assets minus any liabilities. So if your home is worth $1 million and you owe $500,000 on it, you have $500,000 in equity that goes towards your net worth. But you're looking at least $150,000 net worth, $50,000 to $100,000 liquidity. You want enough to put down on the note for the SBA. Or cover the franchise fee and get funding, but also have that buffer, have access to additional funds. So you want to set yourself up for success. What happens if that business takes a little bit longer to get up and running, or there was just some delays, or whatever the case may be? You want to make sure you have the funds, you have that buffer to get you through there. If you're leaving your job and you own a home, who's paying your mortgage?
But even with funding secure, many people still waste precious time talking to the wrong brands. In our final segment, we reveal the system to narrow down the 4,000 plus franchise opportunities and get matched with your perfect fit.